everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and today we continue with the Bestiarum, a dive into the respective species of the Halo universe, and we continue with the ancestors. For hundreds of years, human beings were commonly believed to be the sole product of natural evolutionary principles. But towards the end of the Covenant War, discoveries were made that revealed a far more curated ancestry. Millions of years ago, humans were created alongside the Forerunners by an ancient civilization of beings called the Precursors. For untold generations, they were prepared to assume the mantle, a philosophy developed and enacted by the Precursors for the protection of all galactic life. When the Forerunners violently usurped this plan, destroying their parent species and seizing the mantle of responsibility for themselves, the two sibling races became rivals and were eventually drawn into a vicious battle that led to the punitive splintering of humankind into multiple regressed species, which were reseeded on what they believed to be their original homeworld, Erd-Tyrene, known simply as Earth. With a near-complete repository of human records available to us, we can discern that humanity can be really broken down into three primary evolutionary stages, where they can, to a degree, be considered separate species, for the sakes of the Bestiarum. The most ancient era being the ancestors, an intermediate era surrounding the forced devolution of humanity following the close of the Human-Forerunner War, and the resurgence of humanity in the more modern era, with loose references given to an even more ancient past, where the line between humanity and Forerunners blurs to the point of becoming a single, unified species. However, in the lack of concrete evidence, we will focus on the three key eras of humanity for the Bestiarum, starting with the most ancient, the ancestors. Humans are classified as a mammal, or more specifically as a primate. They are warm-blooded bipeds who walk upright, have 5-fingered hands with an opposable thumb, and possess sufficiently capable intellects with the ability to reason and to create tools. Over time, a rich diversity of ethnic groups and cultures naturally emerged through the development of tightly knit communities. Compared to their most ancient ancestors and other contemporary species, such as the Sangheli or the Sanshayum, the modern human being is smaller, weaker, less resilient, and has a relatively truncated lifespan of around a century, in stark contrast to their ancient ancestors who could live for thousands of years. With the development of the Spartans in the early 26th century, new physiological possibilities have emerged which some believe return humankind to its ancient roots, suggesting that ancient humanity bore a closer resemblance to the Spartan super soldiers of the contemporary era than to regular human beings. Human technological development peaked during the species' ancient years, leading up to the war with the Forerunners, an incredible depth of knowledge that has since been lost. Fields such as space travel, bioengineering, neural manipulation, planetary engineering, and even the creation of distributed intelligences were at their apex during this forgotten era. After their regression at the hands of the Forerunners, humans have yet to regain the robust technological heritage of their ancestors. Foundational advances have allowed them to leave their planet's gravity well and explore the greater expanse above their world, but they have achieved little more than rudimentary colonization efforts. Ironically, since the Halo event, humans are now rediscovering some of these advances from their ancestors' very rivals, the Forerunners, and the vast reliquaries of knowledge that civilization left behind. At the height of the Covenant War, modern humans uncovered information that would completely change what they understood about their own species and its history. Originating a million years prior, the earliest of their kind, now referred to as the ancestors, Archaeohomina, had originally been a powerful, spacefaring species, colonizing numerous worlds along the outer edge of the Milky Way galaxy, what was known during that time as Path Tolgrath. Under the wisdom and discretion of their greatest minds, the ancestors plumbed the depths of enigmatic precursor artifacts, leveraging all they discovered to build a civilization only rivaled by the Forerunners. At the apex of their civilization, the seat of their governance and the confluence of their technological achievements were both centered on Charam Hakor, This ancient treasure world of precursor technologies held a history that stretched into deep ages long since past, leading humans to give this world the name Eternal. Chatham Hakor and its star system held a matchless boon of scientific curiosities for the inquisitive human species, eventually bringing to light many secrets of the precursors themselves. Chatham Hakor was one of 15 worlds within the Nov Thasta system, which included Fawn Hakor, Sothra Hakor, and Ben Nauk. Many of these played host to remarkable repositories of precursor technology, even vast continent-spanning cities sustained by unaged neural-physical composites. The ancestors eventually partnered with the San Shayum, a peer civilization which shared disdain for the proud shadow cast by the Forerunners' looming empire. This bond deepened over time as they co-inhabited many worlds, threading political and cultural strongholds along the galactic periphery. Nevertheless, Chatham Hakor remained the axis of all human progress and achievement for centuries. As the ancestors expanded and grew in power, they eventually found themselves in direct conflict with the Forerunner Ecumene, the galaxy-spanning empire of a species who believed they were the only true inheritors of the precursor legacy. Fortifying their position with an alliance with the San Shayum, the human species saw unfettered innovation and expansion until they encountered a mysterious substance aboard a derelict vessel of unknown origin. Through a series of tragic events, this seemingly innocuous discovery soon led to the first outbreak of the parasitic flood, and eventually a full-scale battle for survival, as entire worlds were consumed by horrors of warped flesh and annealed minds. The ancestors fought against the ravenous outbreak, but by the time they developed effective techniques for engaging the threat, the parasite had already spread well beyond any effort to contain it. At the centre of the ancestors' beliefs and practices was the tenet of Dawa Matu, a reference to the cyclical patterns of trial and growth witnessed over time and often referred to as the roll and tug of the universe on those within it. This system was exemplified with the first outbreak of the Flood. The harrowing war that followed quickly encroached on Forerunner territories, where human fleets were forced to scour Forerunner worlds to break the Flood's seemingly inexorable spread. Aware that this action would not go unnoticed, the ancestors' powerful military alliance with the San Shayum would be essential as they were drawn into a fight on two fronts. Ignorant of the peril they would come to face, the Forerunners responded with ruthless measures, unwittingly forcing the humans into a battle on two fronts. This eventually led to a prolonged siege on Chatham Hakor and the dismantling of what remained of the ancient human empire. Decades before the end of the conflict, humanity's political and morale commander, Prin Prakushma, led a science team to discover an ancient creature on the boundaries of the galaxy. Known as the Captive, the creature disclosed secrets about the precursors from its stasis hold on Chatham Hakor, revealing a shocking link between itself and the Flood. During the final siege of Chatham Hakor, Prakushma and her forces defended the Captive's hold, but the humans' defeat and later firing of the Halo released the creature, who, now known as the Primordial, would exact final vengeance on the Forerunners for their long-hidden genocidal crimes against the precursor race. The conflict with the Forerunners saw a highly decorated naval commander, 4th Hensho Oberun, called the Lord of Admirals, embattled by a seemingly unstoppable military force, the Forerunners' Promethean army, scores of warriors led by their leader, the Didact. The human warriors under 4th Hensho's command fought valiantly but with a far greater foe at their backs in the Flood. They were ultimately forced to retreat to a citadel on Chatham Hakor. Their betrayal by the San Shayum exposed them to a fatal blow, and the Forerunners finally subdued the capital world, decisively defeating the ancestors. Consumed by righteous anger, the Forerunners humiliated the ancestors who remained by genetically altering their bodies, fragmenting their forms, destroying their history, and banishing what remained to Erdi Tyrene. The San Shayum suffered a lesser fate, forsaking the humans in their hour of greatest need. By taking such steps, the Forerunners ensured none would challenge their supremacy. As the Flood threat became a clear and present danger, and all efforts at containment failed, some Forerunners sought to determine if humanity had found a cure to the Flood, as they appeared to have done in the final days of the war. Others, like the Librarian, saw humanity not just as rival species, but as the true heirs of the precursor legacy and inheritors of guardianship over the galaxy. The forerunner responsible for this fateful show of mercy was the librarian, wife of the didact, and yet a political contrarian who believed that humanity were the true inheritors of the mantle of responsibility established by the precursors epochs earlier, a position usurped by the forerunners in their zeal for power. During the final stages of the forerunners' war with the humans, the flood receded into the background, seemingly fading to non-existence and fostering the rumour that the ancestors had found a cure. The librarian knew that such a thing would be outside her own people's reach, so she advocated using a machine called the Composer to extract the personalities and memories of key ancestors, which would be implanted into surviving humans through a gene song or gesh, while the forerunners would use this process to try to discern a cure against the flood. The librarian's protection hoped to secure humanity's future ascendants and prepare them to inherit the mantle. After the activation of Halo scoured the stars clean of sentient life, the librarian and her allies embedded a series of evolutionary contingencies within the reseeded humans called a gesh, in the hopes it would help them reclaim all that was lost and take up the mantle of responsibility. At their height, the ancestors rivaled the forerunners in their force of arms and mastery of space travel, largely due to their understanding of precursor mechanisms. In contrast to the forerunners, their attentions were drawn to the interleaving of dimensions and weaving of exotic force rather than applications of macro-engineering. They were the undisputed masters of scientific synthesis, collaborating with their own kind and other sapient species to exploit unique languages, outlooks, and intuitions into a greater whole and more complete understanding of universal principles, leaving behind a tradition that has endured the long passage of time. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future content, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. It really does help the channel out significantly. Feel free to pop a comment below on anything you'd like me to cover next, and before signing off I just want to give a shout to my Patreon supporters, Spartan10148, my singular contender class ancilla, Falcon, Jordan and Poseidon, the metarchs of my facility, Sylphia, Ashley, Esoteric, Spartan 1029 and Chris Allen, my dutiful monitors, Darian, Legion, Labrat, Spartan 137, Chris, Element 0, J3, Mr. Keys, Gunslinger Cult, Evermore's Personal Devil, Scion Esports, and Saber, my diligent sub-monitors, my dominating fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers, and all other patrons who continue to support the channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Big props to my Tier 0 YouTube members, Spartan 137, Talia, Fenrir, Bornstella, and Jimbo, and all other YouTube members keeping the installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. And if you really love what I'm doing here, consider supporting the channel via the links in the description. Much love, take it easy, and find peace in the domain.